FTA programs which support rural and small transit agencies. And how does this program relate to those? Well, there's a couple ways. First of all, we did check, and operating funds are not eligible for Sarbanes, but it may be possible to use some of those grant programs to pay for operations. Second thing is, the Sarbanes program actually encourages multiple funding sources. So if there are other FTA grant programs where it can provide some of the funding, that actually helps your application for a Sarbanes grant. Instead of, you might think it might hurt it. All right, and there was a second question, which I've forgotten immediately. What was that second question, Seth? Oh, yeah. There was a question about the grant application forms. Will there be any changes this year? To the best of our knowledge, there will not be. We've been told that there won't be any changes, and actually with the accelerated time frame we're on, I would imagine that it won't happen. If they are, they're going to be somewhat minor. Are there any other questions out there, both in the room or out the web? Okay, how are we doing so far? Any feedback? Anything? How about on the web? We got a feedback over here. Yeah?
Very early about when they're going to announce how they applications.
The notice of funding is any day now. Now, in FTA talk, that could be a couple weeks. It could be a couple months, but I think it could be within a couple weeks.
And then what about the next upcoming call?
Oh no, that is this year's the awards for 2009 are in the Federal Register on Friday, so they are officially announced.
Yeah.
So the call for 2010 is the one I'm referring to in a few weeks.
Okay.
We don't know what the deadline is yet.
The deadline for the submission,
it's going to be 45 days instead of 60, right?
It's going to be 45 days afterwards, and frankly, we have we worked with everybody to come up with a time schedule, so it can't be too long, otherwise the entire time schedule to meet September 30th, which was a mandate by the administrator, won't be possible. So they've got to be coming out pretty soon. Mary Ann, do you have any feedback as far as, if you're still on, as far as when the notice of funding will be coming? Yes, Mary Ann's not still on.
I'll just make a quick comment too. I'm planning to put everyone who registered on the tax listserv. I will out a notification as soon as the Federal Register notice comes out. But I think, it's obviously in your best interest to go ahead and start planning now. And from what we know, the questions haven't changed. So essentially, you can start preparing now, and as soon as it comes out, you'll be ready to go.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for the notice to begin your process. Yes, Susan.
It's a comment from something I thought about during the break. You said that the tax won't help units actually write their grant application. So the suggestion is for when you do tag reports to put them in almost the exact same format as what is asked, the kinds of questions that are asked in the application. It just will make it easier for units when they're trying to put them together to be able to take information from.
Right, but on the other hand, we've got. I hear you, and we wrote it down. And we have to check on some issues, non-technical issues, on doing something like that. Okay. But I hear you.
Try to make it as easy as possible for those units to apply for funding.
Good suggestion. I just don't know whether we can do it. Anything else?
When are these online modules going to be available?
Well, the first module you're going to see in a few minutes. And when do we think it'll be available online, Stephanie or Rob?
A couple of days, I would think. I mean, that's not hard to do.
Let's say before the end of the month. Under promise, over deliver, Rob. That's one of my major management precepts.
Yeah, within a couple of days.
Or a month. If you're on the listserv, you'll get we're really doing the push on this listserv. If you're on the listserv, we'll send a notice that it's available.
So, but basically, you could set it up.
I think the question would be when would all of them be available?
Let's make that clear. All of them won't be there probably till the end of next year.
End of FY11?
End of FY 11, yes.
Okay.
Okay? You had to think about FYs here. The first one, we're going to be putting them online as we prepare them. And this year we're preparing 4 of them. I would guess that next year we'll be able to prepare 2 more.
So one's done then? One is done? Which
Well,
ones
it
are
depends on the feedback we get today. If you guys don't like one, then it may not be done. And that's one of the reasons we're here today, is to get feedback on Module 1, or Module 2, excuse me, not Module 1. We are not doing this, this is going to be confusing.
That's not sequential, but
not
so this is the
sequential.
first one you've
The
developed for
first one we
Module 2.
developed, Module
I see.
2, is the one we're going to talk about in seconds.
And what we did, the way we did that was actually the ones that seemed to get the most requests, were the ones that we thought we would start with. Order of the modules is kind of sequential with the planning process, but we got requests for specific topics in the needs assessment survey. Those, the top 4 were kind of the ones we thought we'd start with.
But they're not necessarily 1 through 4.
1 through 4, right.
So when we're all
2,
done,
7,
Exactly.
I don't know.
when we're all done, people will be able to go sequentially through them and be able to go through the process. But until we're all done, we wanted to do the most requested first, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And that's why we've chosen this confusing approach. I guess I have to take some of the responsibility for that, yes. That's all.
We got one question online too about how to differentiate, between the availability of the presentation and the availability of the CDP. So I'll just say really quickly that these sort of executive summary presentations will be available pretty soon. The CDPs will take a little bit longer, but they'll be more in-depth. So once the computer-based trainings come out, they'll be longer, more detailed trainings, and they'll probably be broken into sections so that someone can go online and do, a 30-minute section at a time, or, up to an hour. So it's not like a 6-hour module all at one time that you have to watch the whole thing. So the CPTs will be more in-depth, but they'll also be available a little bit later than the executive summary.
I wouldn't quite call these executive summaries. That's probably an overstatement. There'll be more detail in the CDPs, but these should serve as a good document. I will also point out that in your notebook, I don't know what happened to mine. I'll take this too if you want. In your notebook, Module 2, there is a presentation. Then after the presentation, there's a blue piece of paper, and there is a document on identifying the motivation for transportation improvement study and defining the needs. And then following that, there's another blue, which provides an executive summary of the transportation planning process for transit in the federal land management areas. That document, the executive summary, is there.
And
In addition to that, there will be more information, supplemental information, on defining the need, which will be available through the website. Or if you need it sooner, we can provide it to you in a different form. But and also, just so you know, there is a case study that was done for Red Meadows and Delos Post File that goes through the entire process. It's available as part of the planning guide.
And for people on the webinar, I think the entire planning guide is actually available for download on the webinar.
And we should be able to make it available to everybody.
Yeah. Can we break for 1 minute? We're going to stop the recording of the first part, and she's going to start with the training. So we see
A 60-second break.